The fluorescent lights in Julian's office felt different that Tuesday afternoon. Colder, harsher, almost clinical. I sat across from him, my annual review folder open between us. The pages I had prepared for weeks suddenly felt worthless. 12 years of performance metrics, client testimonials, and project completions. 12 years of my life reduced to numbers on paper. "Richard, I will be direct with you," Julian said, not meeting my eyes. "The Budget Committee has determined that your current compensation ceiling is $45,000. That is the maximum value we see in your position." The words hit like a physical blow. 45,000 after 12 years. My son, Jason, was starting middle school, needing braces, asking about the summer science camp I had promised to consider. I had spent 12 years as senior operations coordinator at Stanton and Associates, a mid-sized consulting firm in downtown Chicago. My father raised two boys on a mechanic's salary, and he taught me that understanding people's struggles isn't about where you come from it. It is about choosing to see others, really see them, even when the world makes it easy to look away. But that Tuesday, I realized I had been invisible for years. I walked out of Julian's office at 4:47 in the afternoon. I remember the exact time because I kept staring at my phone, reading the same text from my son over and over. "Dad, can we get pizza tonight?" I aced my math test. How do you tell your 11-year-old that pizza night might need to become a monthly luxury instead of a weekly celebration? How do you explain that your employer, the company you have bled for, sacrificed weekends for, missed his school plays for, has decided you are worth less than an entry-level software developer fresh out of college? I did not cry in the office. I had learned early in my career that tears were ammunition for people like Julian. Instead, I gathered my things, declined the sympathetic looks from Sarah at reception, and drove home in complete silence. No radio, no podcasts, just the sound of Chicago traffic and my own thoughts screaming. My apartment wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Photos of Jason covered the refrigerator, report cards, Little League participation certificates, his gap-toothed smile from last summer. I had raised him alone since he was 2. When my ex-wife decided motherhood wasn't the adventure she had signed up for it. Every decision I had made for a decade revolved around stability for Jason. That was why I stayed at Stanton. Not because I loved the work, though I had gotten good at it, but because it offered health insurance, predictable hours, and the illusion of security. The illusion shattered. I made Jason's favorite dinner that night. Spaghetti carbonara, the real kind with pancetta I had picked up on sale. He talked nonstop about his math test, about his friend's new video game, about the science camp where they would get to build actual robots. "It is expensive, though," Jason said, twirling pasta on his fork. "Mr. Henderson said it is like $2,000. That is a lot, right?" "We will figure it out, buddy," I heard myself say. "We always do." After he went to bed, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop, spreadsheets, and a glass of bourbon I couldn't really afford. The numbers did not lie. $45,000 in Chicago with a growing kid meant choosing between building any kind of savings and giving Jason the opportunities he deserved. It meant saying no to summer camps and music lessons and college funds. It meant accepting that 12 years of loyalty counted for nothing. I had started at Stanton fresh out of college, a naive young man with a business degree and something to prove. The company had been different then, smaller, hungrier, almost family-like. The founder, old Mr. Stanton himself, used to walk the floors every Friday, learning everyone's names, asking about their families. He had retired 8 years ago, handing the reins to his son, Oliver Stanton, who immediately brought in professional management. That was when Julian arrived, along with his corporate degree from some prestigious program and his philosophy that employees were human capital assets to be optimized. I had optimized myself right into obsolescence. The worst part? I was good at my job. Exceptional, even. I coordinated operations across 6 different departments, managed vendor relationships worth millions, and had streamlined processes that saved the company hundreds of thousands annually. My performance reviews always rated exceeds expectations. But exceeding expectations apparently capped out at $45,000. I opened my professional network online that night. Something I had not done in months. My profile looked abandoned, Outdated job description, no recent activity, connections I had not messaged in years. When you believe in loyalty, you stop keeping your options open. You stop thinking of yourself as someone other companies might want. That was my first mistake. My second mistake was not recognizing the warning signs earlier. The new hires coming in at salaries, I could only guess at it. The gradual shift from we are a family to we are running a business. The way Julian had started copying human resources on every email, creating paper trails for conversations that used to happen organically. The reorganization 6 months ago should have told me everything. They had brought in Chloe, a 28-year-old with 3 years of experience, as Director of Operational Excellence, my new boss. The position I had been doing without the title for 5 years. Chloe was nice enough, enthusiastic, full of ideas from her textbooks that did not quite translate to our actual work. I trained her, essentially spending months showing her our systems, introducing her to our vendors, explaining the relationships that made everything run smoothly. She had thanked me in our team meeting last month, called me absolutely invaluable. Invaluable at $45,000. I updated my resume that night, past midnight, after the bourbon was gone. It felt like betrayal, like adultery, putting my experience into words designed to attract other employers. 12 years condensed into bullet points, achievements quantified, skills categorized. Who even was I outside of Stanton and Associates? The next morning, Wednesday, I dressed for work like always. Gray slacks, blue shirt, the professional armor I had worn for years. Jason asked if I was okay. I must have looked different somehow. Kids notice everything. Just tired, buddy. Big project at work. Not a lie, exactly. Figuring out my future felt like the biggest project I had ever faced. The office felt surreal. Sarah greeted me with her usual smile. The coffee in the break room tasted the same. My desk, with its photos of Jason and the little succulent that refused to die, looked exactly as I had left it. But I was different. Something had shifted. That invisible weight I had carried for years, the constant anxiety about being good enough, working hard enough, proving myself enough, had transformed into something else. Anger, maybe. Or clarity. Julian passed my desk at 9:15 in the morning without acknowledging me. Chloe sent a meeting invite for later that afternoon. Quarter 2 planning session. Everything normal. Everything fine. Except I had spent my entire morning applying to jobs instead of working. The muscle memory of competence kicked in. I had coordinated hundreds of detailed projects, and this was just another one. Project Richard's future. Deliverable, a job that valued him. Timeline, as soon as humanly possible. My phone rang at 2:47 in the afternoon. Unknown number. I almost did not answer. Probably spam, another warranty expiration scam. But something made me step into the empty conference room and pick up. "Is this Richard Vance?" A woman's voice, professional but warm. "Speaking, Mr. Vance, my name is Diana Mercer. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Ironclad Strategic Group. Do you have a few minutes to talk?" Ironclad Strategic Group. Stanton's primary competitor, the firm that had been systematically winning our clients for the past 2 years, the name Julian cursed in every quarterly meeting. "I have time," I said, my heart suddenly pounding. "Your resume came across my desk this morning. Impressive does not begin to cover it. 12 years at Stanton, managing their entire operational infrastructure from what I can see. I am curious what is prompting you to explore new opportunities." I could have given her the polished answer, the professional non-answer about seeking new challenges and growth opportunities, but something in Diana's voice, maybe the directness, maybe the respect implicit in her question, made me honest. They told me yesterday that $45,000 is the maximum value they see in my position after 12 years. Silence on the other end. Then, "I am sorry. Could you repeat that number?" $45,000. "Richard, I have been in this industry for 20 years. I know exactly what you do at Stanton because I have tried to hire away your role 3 times. Previous candidates wanted to stay, said they were loyal to the company. Do you know what we budget for that position?" "No, ma'am. Our Director of Operations, which is what you actually are, regardless of your title, starts at $120,000. With your experience and clear competence, I would start you at $180,000 plus performance bonuses that typically run 20 to 30%. The conference room suddenly felt too small. $180,000. That was... I could not even process it. I know this is sudden, Diana continued. But Richard, I do not believe in playing games. We have been looking for someone with your exact background for 6 months. Our operations are growing faster than our infrastructure can handle. I need someone who can walk in and own the entire department from day one. Someone who knows this industry, knows our competitors. Obviously, you know Stanton intimately and can help us scale without breaking what we have built. Words felt impossible. I submitted my resume 4 hours ago. Diana laughed genuinely. And I read it 3 hours ago. I have been in back-to-back meetings since then, or I would have called sooner. Richard, can you come in tomorrow morning? I want you to meet our executive team, see our offices, and have a real conversation about this. No pressure, no games, just a conversation between professionals. Tomorrow morning, my calendar flashed in my mind. I had 3 meetings, a vendor call, a presentation to finish. Then I remembered $45,000 maximum value. What time? I asked. 9 in the morning. We are in the towering high-rise on 43rd Street, 43rd floor. I had walked past that building 1,000 times, craning my neck at the height, never imagining I would belong there. I will be there, I said. After we hung up, I sat in that conference room for 10 minutes, just breathing. My hands were shaking. $180,000. Director of Operations. Ironclad Strategic Group. It felt like fiction, like something that happened to other people, people with different resumes and different lives. But it was happening to me. I returned to my desk, opened my laptop, and stared at the Q2 planning spreadsheet I had been building for Chloe. Hundreds of hours of work over the past month projecting resource allocation, vendor contracts, efficiency improvements. My phone dinged. Email from Julian. Richard, need the Q2 operations budget finalized by end of day Friday. Thanks. Not a question, not a please, just an assumption that I would deliver like I always delivered, for my maximum value of $45,000. I opened a new email, typed carefully. Julian, the Q2 budget will be ready Friday. Just confirming, should I plan this based on my current compensation structure, or will there be adjustments following our discussion yesterday? Professional, neutral, but pointed. His response came in 3 minutes. Current structure, we discussed this. I saved the Q2 file to my personal drive, backed it up to cloud storage. 12 years of institutional knowledge, process documentation, vendor relationships, operational insights, all in my head, in my files, in the systems I had built. They thought it was theirs. They thought I was easily replaceable. They were about to learn differently. That evening, I told Jason we were having pizza after all. His face lit up like a summer morning. We went to his favorite place, got all the toppings, ordered garlic bread, we didn't need it. He told me about his day, about his friend's drama with another kid, about his science teacher who did experiments with liquid nitrogen. Dad, you seem happy, he said, tomato sauce on his chin. I am, buddy. I really am, because of my math test, because I remembered something important today. Do you know what it is? He shook his head, reaching for another slice. I remembered that when people do not appreciate you, it does not mean you are not valuable. It means they cannot see clearly. Jason considered this with the seriousness only an 11-year-old can muster. Like when the coach did not put me in the game, but then I scored 3 goals the next week? Exactly like that. That night, I prepared for the ironclad interview like I was preparing for battle. I researched every executive, every recent project, every client they had won from Stanton. I reviewed my own achievements with fresh eyes, seeing them not as just doing my job, but as accomplishments worth real recognition. I picked out my best suit. Navy, well-tailored, the one I had splurged on for a conference 3 years ago. Professional, confident, director level. Sleep came easier than I had expected. Maybe because, for the first time in years, I felt like I was moving towards something instead of just holding on. Thursday morning, Jason's alarm went off at 6:30. I had been awake since 5, mentally rehearsing, reviewing, preparing. I made him French toast, his special occasion breakfast, because this felt like a day that deserved marking. Why French toast on a Thursday, he asked, suspicious but delighted. Cannot a dad celebrate Thursday? That is weird, Dad. I am a weird dad. I drove him to school, watched him run toward the building with his backpack bouncing, and felt a surge of determination so fierce it almost hurt. Everything I did, every choice, every risk, it all came back to that kid with the gap-toothed smile who trusted me to build him a good life. $45,000 was not a good life. Not in Chicago. Not with college ahead in braces and all the possibilities he deserved. $180,000. That was possibilities. That was summer science camp and college savings, and maybe eventually a house with a yard. The towering high-rise loomed against the morning sky, all glass and steel and ambition. I had passed it countless times, but walking through those doors felt different. The lobby alone, marble floors, soaring ceilings, the purposeful click of expensive shoes, radiated success. 43rd floor. The elevator ride felt like ascending to another world. Ironclad Strategic Group's reception area made Stanton's offices look like a garage startup. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the skyline. Contemporary art that was probably original. Furniture that belonged in architecture magazines. Richard Vance for Diana Mercer, I told the receptionist, a polished woman with perfect posture. Mrs. Mercer is expecting you. Can I offer you coffee? Water? Coffee would be wonderful, thank you. She led me to a small conference room, small being relative as it was twice the size of Julian's office. The coffee arrived in an actual ceramic mug, not the styrofoam cups I was used to it. Details matter. These details said, "You matter." Diana Mercer entered at exactly 9 in the morning, and she was nothing like I had imagined. Mid-40s, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost my monthly rent, with an energy that filled the room immediately. "Richard, thank you for coming on such short notice." Her handshake was firm, confident. "I hope the coffee is acceptable. I know we are all particular about our caffeine. It is perfect. Thank you. Let me be direct, because I respect your time and mine. I have done my homework on you, not just your resume, but your actual work. Do you remember the manufacturing contract negotiation 3 years ago?" Diana asked, leaning forward slightly. I blinked. The industrial client? Yes, of course. Stanton was about to lose that account. $40 million in annual revenue. I restructured the entire service delivery model, coordinated between 4 departments that were not communicating, and presented a proposal that not only saved the client but expanded the contract. How do you know about that? Their chief financial officer is now our advisory board member. He still talks about that presentation. Says it was the most comprehensive operational analysis he had ever seen. You know what he said when I mentioned I might interview you? I shook my head, still processing. He said, "If you get Richard Vance, you will understand how Stanton has stayed competitive despite mediocre leadership. He is the operational genius they have been taking for granted." The words hit harder than Julian's budget ceiling announcement. Someone saw it. Someone understood. "Richard, I will ask you directly. What do you want from your career? Not what you think you should want. Not what sounds good in an interview. What do you actually want?" Nobody had ever asked me that. Not in 12 years, not once. "I want to build something that matters," I said slowly. "I want to solve complex problems and know that my solutions make a real difference. I want to be challenged, and I hesitated, then pushed forward. "I want to be valued appropriately. I have a son who deserves opportunities, and I deserve to provide them without choosing between his future and basic financial security." Diana smiled. "That is the most honest answer I have heard in 50 interviews. Here is what I can offer you, and this is a formal offer, contingent on today's meetings going well, which I fully expect they will. Director of Operations position, base salary $180,000. Performance bonuses averaging 25% if you hit benchmarks that I believe you will exceed. Full benefits, 4 weeks paid time off, a professional development budget, and equity options that vest over 4 years. Good for you," she said quietly. "Seriously, Richard, good for you." The next 2 weeks unfolded in a strange mixture of normal routine and surreal transformation. I documented 12 years of institutional knowledge, vendor relationships, process workflows, system passwords, the informal network of contacts and favors that made everything actually work. Chloe shadowed me desperately, taking notes, asking questions, slowly realizing how much she did not know. I was not unkind about it. She had not created this situation, She was just another piece in Julian's organizational chess game. "How do you remember all of this?" she asked on day 4, watching me navigate a vendor dispute that I resolved in one phone call. 12 years of doing it, I said simply. Julian avoided me, which was fine. Oliver Stanton, however, requested a meeting on day 7, trying the charm offensive his father had been famous for it. "Richard, I understand there was a miscommunication about compensation. We value your contributions immensely. What would it take to keep you?" "I have accepted another position, Mr. Stanton. I start in a week. We could match their offer. What are they paying you?" I smiled politely. "That is between me and Ironclad. But respectfully, sir, this is not just about money. It is about being valued from the beginning. Not just when I am walking out the door." He tried several more angles: loyalty, legacy, the Stanton family values. I deflected each one professionally. The decision was made. On my last day, I arrived early and left a sealed envelope on Julian's desk. Inside was the completed Q2 operations budget, more detailed than anything I had done before, professional to the end. But I had also included a separate analysis, a breakdown of what my actual contributions had been worth over 12 years, conservative estimates of cost savings, revenue retention, efficiency improvements. The numbers totaled in the millions. At the bottom, one line: value delivered versus value recognized, a case study in organizational blindness. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. Sarah had organized a small goodbye gathering: cake, cards, awkward speeches. Chloe thanked me for the transition documentation. Julian gave a stiff speech about appreciating my service. Oliver made an appearance, shaking my hand and wishing me well with the practiced insincerity of inherited wealth. I cleaned out my desk. Photos of Jason the succulent, which I could not quite let die, so I took it. 12 years of accumulated professional life fitting into 2 boxes. Jason had insisted on coming with me for my last day. Half day at school, and he wanted to see where Dad worked before his awesome new job. He charmed everyone, ate 3 pieces of cake, and helped carry my boxes to the car. "This place is boring," he announced in the parking garage. "Your new office is way cooler." I had taken him to visit Ironclad earlier that week, introducing him to Diana and the team. He had been awed by the views, the modern furniture, the general atmosphere of success. "Boring can be comfortable," I said, loading the last box. "Yeah, but comfortable can be boring. You said I should always try to grow, right? Like in baseball, coach says if you are comfortable, you are not improving." My 11-year-old philosopher. You are absolutely right. We drove away from Stanton and Associates for the last time. I did not look back. The weekend before starting at Ironclad, I took Jason shopping. A new professional wardrobe for me, everything he needed for summer. Not extravagant, but without the constant mental math of pennies I had been doing for years. "Dad, you are being weird about money again," Jason said, watching me actually consider the nicer notebooks for him instead of the cheapest option. "Good weird or bad weird?" "Good weird, but weird." Adjusting to financial security after years of stress was its own challenge. I had lived so long in scarcity mode that abundance felt uncomfortable, almost wrong. But that was old thinking, old patterns. Time to build new ones. Monday morning, first day at Ironclad. I dropped Jason at school, where he had already told everyone his dad had the coolest new job at the towering high-rise downtown. At 8:30 in the morning, the building flooded with ambitious professionals starting their week. I rode the elevator to the 43rd floor, feeling like I had earned my place there. Deanna met me personally, walking me through an orientation that felt more like welcoming a valued team member than processing a new employee. My office. Actual office with a door and windows overlooking the city, waited with my name already on the door. Director Richard Vance, Operations Director. My title, my office, my department. The team welcomed me with genuine enthusiasm. They had been struggling without leadership, and I represented stability, expertise, direction. We spent the first day just talking, their challenges, their ideas, their frustrations with current systems. I listened more than I spoke, taking notes, seeing patterns, understanding dynamics. By day 3, I had a preliminary restructuring plan. By day 7, I had identified our 3 biggest operational bottlenecks and begun addressing them. By week 2, I had renegotiated a vendor contract that saved Ironclad $80,000 annually. Diana called me into her office at the end of week 2. "I need you to understand something," she said. "I have been doing this for 20 years. I have hired dozens of directors, managers, executives. You are in the top 3 most impactful hires I have ever made. The change in operations in 2 weeks is remarkable. I am just applying. You are doing what you were always capable of it. Finally, in an environment that recognizes it. There is a difference." She slid a folder across her desk. "Our Q2 numbers. Look at the competitor analysis section." I opened to the page she indicated. Stanton and Associates quarterly projection, declining revenue, operational delays, client satisfaction dropping. "They have lost 3 major clients in the past month," Diana said. "2 came to us specifically." Want to know what they said? I waited. That Stanton's operational efficiency had noticeably declined. Vendor issues, delivery delays, communication breakdowns. Everything you used to hold together is falling apart. I should have felt vindicated, triumphant. Instead, I felt oddly sad, not for Julian or Oliver, but for colleagues like Sarah who would have to navigate the chaos. "Chloe is good," I said. "She is smart, capable. She just needed more time to learn the systems. Time they did not give her before losing you." Diana closed the folder. "Business decisions have consequences. Stanton decided you were worth $45,000. Now they are learning what that decision actually costs them." Over the next month, the pattern continued. Ironclad grew, Stanton struggled. I focused on building something excellent, not on watching my former employer decline. But the industry talked, professional networks overlapped. I heard things. Julian had been let go, scapegoated for the operational failures. Chloe was overwhelmed, working 80-hour weeks trying to fill gaps. Oliver was allegedly considering selling the company. And then, 6 weeks into my tenure at Ironclad, my phone rang, unknown number but local. "Richard Vance. Richard, this is Oliver Stanton. Do you have a moment?" I stepped into my office, closing the door. "Mr. Stanton, how can I help you? I want to apologize personally for how your contributions were undervalued. Julian's termination does not fix what happened, but I want you to know there is accountability. I appreciate that. I also want to ask, and I recognize this is presumptuous, what would it take to bring you back? Name your price, your title, your terms. I am prepared to offer whatever it takes. 6 weeks ago, this call would have meant everything. Validation, recognition, proof that I had been right. Now, I looked at my office, the team I was building, the problems I was solving, the respect I received daily, the salary that let me breathe. Mr. Stanton, I am grateful for the opportunity you gave me 12 years ago, genuinely. But I am building something here that I believe in, with people who valued me from day one. I am not looking to move, not even for it, not even. But I wish you the best with Stanton's recovery. It is a good company that lost its way. I hope you find it again." After we hung up, I sat for a moment processing. The call I would have desperately wanted 6 weeks ago felt like an echo from someone else's life. I did not need Stanton to finally see my worth. I had found somewhere that had seen it immediately. Deanna knocked on my doorframe. "Everything okay? Oliver Stanton just offered me whatever it would take to come back, and you said that I am exactly where I want to be." Her smile was knowing. "The best revenge is not watching them fail, Richard. It is building something so successful that their failure becomes irrelevant to your story." She was right. Stanton's struggles were not my victory. Ironclad's success was 3 months in. I had completely restructured operations. The team had grown from 15 to 22, all strategic hires. Our efficiency metrics were the best in company history. Client satisfaction scores in operations had increased by 30%, and I had done it while leaving work at reasonable hours, attending Jason's baseball games, taking him to the science camp where he had absolutely thrived. "Dad," he said one evening over dinner. Sushi, his new favorite, since I could now afford more than grocery store California rolls. "You seem different." "Different? How?" "Happier. Like you smile more even when you are just doing normal stuff. Kids see everything. I am happier, buddy. Turns out being valued at work makes a difference." "Is it because they pay you more?" "It is because they respect what I do. The money is just how they show it." Oh, he contemplated this, poking at his edamame. "Like when coach moved me to starting position, it was not about the position exactly. It was about him seeing I was good." 6 months in, Diana promoted me to Vice President of Operations. Salary increase, more equity, larger team, expanded responsibilities. "You have transformed this department," she said during the promotion meeting. "You are ready for the next level." Vice President. At $45,000, I had been capped. At Ironclad, I was ascending. I heard through professional networks that Stanton had indeed sold, absorbed by a larger firm, the family name becoming a subsidiary. Oliver had walked away wealthy but defeated. Julian had left the industry entirely, last spotted in some technology startup's operations role. Chloe had landed well, moving to a competitor with appropriate title and compensation. I had actually written her a recommendation, professional courtesy and genuine respect for how she had handled an impossible situation. The professional world continued spinning. Some people rose, some fell. Most just kept working, hoping someone would notice. I noticed my team, recognized contributions, advocated for promotions and raises, became the leader I had needed 12 years ago. And Jason? He thrived. Braces got handled without financial panic. College funds started growing. Summer camps, music lessons, opportunities I could finally provide without choosing between his future and our present. 1 year after leaving Stanton, I received an invitation to speak at an industry conference about operational excellence. The irony was not lost on me. A year ago, I had been valued at $45,000. Now I was the expert other companies wanted to learn from it. I accepted the speaking engagement, prepared a presentation about building efficient teams, recognizing talent, and the true cost of undervaluing expertise. The conference was downtown, at a hotel I had walked past countless times but never entered. Professional development had always been a luxury I could not afford at Stanton. My presentation was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon. The room filled with operations professionals, executives, consultants. I recognized several Stanton competitors, a few former colleagues, industry leaders I had only known by reputation. I spoke for 45 minutes about systems, people, and the infrastructure that makes organizations actually work. About the invisible labor of operations, the coordination, the relationship management, the problem solving that keeps businesses running. And I spoke about value, how it is measured, how it is recognized, how organizations that fail to see their talents worth pay costs far exceeding salary adjustments. The applause was genuine, the questions insightful. Several executives asked for my contact information, interested in consulting or potential hires. After the session, a young man approached me, mid-20s, professionally dressed, nervous energy. "Mr. Vance, that was incredible. I have to ask. I have been at my company for 3 years. I know I am good at what I do, but they keep telling me I am too junior for promotion, that I need more experience. How do you know when to stay and when to leave?" I looked at him, seeing my younger self, the self that had stayed too long, believing loyalty would be rewarded. "Ask yourself this," I said. "Do they recognize your contributions? Not with words. Anyone can say, 'Good job,' with respect, compensation, opportunities. If you are constantly proving your worth without recognition, you are not too junior. You are undervalued, and undervalued talent should find employers who see clearly." He thanked me, eyes bright with the realization of someone about to make a hard decision. I hoped he would make it sooner than I had. That evening I took Jason to his favorite restaurant, the fancy burger place with the truffle fries he loved. We celebrated nothing specific, just the general excellence of our life. "Dad, your speech thing was today, right? How did it go?" "Really well. People seemed interested in what I had to say. That is cool." "Were you nervous?" "A little. But mostly I was excited. I got to talk about work I actually care about it." "Do you like your job?" The question was simple, but the answer felt profound. I looked at my son, healthy, happy, his future wide open with possibilities I could finally afford to give him. I thought about the team I had built, the respect I had earned, the value I brought every single day. "I love my job," I said, and for the first time in my professional life, it was the absolute truth.